Hello, beautiful Earth Angels. Happy Mother's Day to those of you who are mothers. And if you're a father, happy Father's Day to you. My name is Joanna. Welcome to Team Joanna. This is going to be, or this is a weekly pulse for the week of May 11th. I'll state my intention, and I actually tuned in to the intention just before I turned on the camera. And this time, I actually felt it, and I didn't even realize that until today when I did it, that when I intend, a lot of the time it's in my mind. And it's a very different feeling. One is a thought and one is a bodily feeling. And I don't know what made me do that. It just kind of came over me naturally. And I'm saying this to you for a reason. So there's a message in it. Anyway, I felt what it is that I was intending for every single one of you. And the way it came to me was that me being a seeker, I seek information. And I want to say I'm a lover of information seeking. And it's knowledge. I love to seek knowledge. And my purpose is to share that knowledge with you. And the benefit of that, the possible benefit of that, or the potential, is that it enhances your life in some way, shape, or manner. And so my intention is to give you what you need at any given moment, not necessarily what you're looking for, that will ultimately help and shift your vibration. And as you know, how you vibrate, or how you vibrate is who you are. And the idea here is, as we move through this process of higher awareness or ascension, we are revving up in our vibration. So my intention, long story short, is to give you whatever you need in order to help you achieve that in some way, shape, or form. This may happen consciously or unconsciously. And I'm being asked to say that when I speak to you, there is almost like pockets of invisible information that comes through my voice. I don't know how to describe it any other way than that, so I'm being asked to say it. And these pockets of information are invisible to your conscious mind. So there will be things that I will say that you will not hear, but will have a profound effect on you, and of a positive nature, obviously. So hence my intention is so important. And what may happen for many of you, you may actually feel an energy coming through as I speak, which may have nothing to do with what I say. So the point I'm trying to make here is that some of you will benefit from this, not even knowing that you are benefiting from it. And that's because you are open. In order for you to be listening to me, you are at least to some level open. And since you are open and seeking for information, that information may come to you in various ways, through my words, through my body language, and through, I just heard the word light codes, which is, I guess, these pockets of information. And I'm not conscious of it when I do it. I am just being told that that's apparently what I do. And that's why people often find after the session with me that when they listen to the recording, they hear something different. So anyway, so that is my intention for you. I would encourage you to state what your intention is from hearing me or from any other information that you are seeking, and do it from the space of your body feeling rather than just your head. So that's an interesting exercise. And I feel the reason why this is being asked of me to say is because however we approach this exercise is going to be very meaningful down the road. It has something to do with being yourself, but not being yourself from the space of what you think or what you believe, but more from the space of what it feels. So that's a bit of a magical present that I can't make sense of right now. And the magical energy or mysterious energy seems to be coming from last week, because I felt that energy very much last week. So the energy here, and even how I receive information, feels very mysterious to me. So if I'm going on in a different direction, I am not even realizing that. I'm simply just letting it happen. So with that said, if you would like a session with me, of course, whether it's talking or me doing a healing for you, that information is down below. Also, if you are not a member of the Joanna the Healer private Facebook page, that information is down below, and there's many benefits from that. I do other things that I don't do on YouTube, and you actually get to ask a question and I get to answer it. So all that information is down below. And last but not least, for all of you who have donated to me, thank you so much. I try to send a personalized email every single time I get a donation. So if I haven't gotten to you for some reason, please forgive me. It has nothing to do with me not being grateful. I will eventually get to you. It's just you get the picture. So thank you so much. That is so appreciated. Okay, let's move on to the actual message. So when May 11th was presented to me, because this is for week of May 11th, I was also shown that May 11th, the date in and of itself was somehow important. And then I started to feel like I was getting some astrology. Now, for those of you who know me, I'm not an astrologer. I know barely basic stuff about astrology. But this is coming to me in a way that I've not expecting, number one, but number two, don't have a lot of knowledge on. So, and by the way, this is a message for you too. So what it made me do, it made me look at certain things online, and because it makes sense to me now, I can share it with you. What I was shown is, oh, by the way, the reason why it's important for me to describe the process is because you too will undoubtedly be getting information that you are not expecting. And you know this information is very valuable and very meaningful, but you just don't know how to use it or where to put it or what it means or what to do with it. It's these pockets of information I was describing earlier that may come through my voice or other sources. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. That's the best way that I can describe it. So you may be getting these downloads, if you will, over the next little while in order to help you transition from point A to point B, whatever that means to you. And when I say point A and point B, I'm referring to vibration status. It's not a physical place. Anyway, what was shown, yeah, so you'll be getting all this kind of information and you may not know exactly what it is. My advice to you as Joanna will be just to note it down somewhere. Don't discount it as nonsense and don't latch onto it. Just kind of put it in your mental shelf and go, okay, in time it's going to make sense to me. And I feel like many of us are going to be receiving a lot of information like that. For example, I lately have not been able to sleep peacefully. Sometimes I am waking up screaming. I don't remember in the morning what I screamed about because I usually remember my dreams. Or I am aware that I am receiving literally lectures. And I know that in my dream, in my sleep, I am helping, I am teaching, I am doing all these things and I'm having all these understandings. But the moment I wake up, I have no awareness of what it was other than I was being taught. And as a result of that, I end up extraordinarily tired. So I wake up tired because I've worked all night. But this is the type of information, the ways the information may come to you. It may come through you having disturbed sleeps because your brain is working overtime. It's not it's your brain, yes, because your brain interprets, or signals, but it's happening on a subconscious level, but you're kind of like not semi-conscious level. And some of that information from dream you will be able to bring to your waking life, which is why it's important to write your dreams down. If you dream a lot, it's a good idea to jot some things down in terms of the overall meaning of the overall feeling of the dream, because and not try to overanalyze it, because in time you'll be able to look at all the different notes and you'll be able to see literally messages in it. And sometimes these messages, these dreams don't make sense, a whole lot of sense, until sometime later. So for some of you, this is already happening, but it will be happening more so in your dreams rather than waking life. All right, so that is the piece on that. Okay, 2 words for the next week. Be brave. Now, the moment when I heard be brave, right away I went back, why? And interestingly enough, I did not meet that statement, be brave, with an anxiety. because somehow I knew it wasn't because of something bad. When I tuned into it, and that's important to know, because to hear be brave, like you may go on alarm, but I didn't. And I was surprised that I didn't, so I reacted to it very differently. So that tells me that some of you will begin to notice that the way you used to react to something is now changing. Or other way of saying it, something that had a effect on you in the past as a trigger, now the trigger is much less, or your reaction to it is much, much less. So you will undoubtedly experience that over time. And whenever you experience that, it's like your recognition of yourself comes back. It's like every time you have that experience, you open up a little bit more. And that is essentially, as I'm doing this with my hands, expansion. So we are, we all know, in expansion. But where was I going with this? Yes, the reason why I felt the reason why is we are being asked to be brave is because it's tough. It's tough. It can be tough to let go of the status quo. That even rhymed. It can be tough to let go of a status quo. Yes. And that implies to holding on to something dearly, whether it's a thing, whether it's a person, whether it's a place, whether it's a space, whether it's a mental space, whether it's your identity, whatever it is, it implies that there's going to be some letting go, voluntarily or otherwise, and we are to be brave in the process. But I don't feel this necessarily as something happening to us and we have to fear, and that's why we have to be brave. No, it's actually on the contrary. It feels more like we are saying to ourselves, no more. And also as a result of that, to our beliefs, to our old systems, to certain paradigms, we are basically saying, no, thank you. And we are beginning to choose for ourselves. Okay, well, I see where this is going. Obviously, it has a lot to do with what's going on in the world right now. And I don't really talk about that a whole lot, but I see how they're tiptoeing around it right now. So the reason why we are asked to be brave once again is to stand up to our own old self-beliefs. And that can be intimidating sometimes. It's like standing up to a bully. I don't know about you, but when I was bullied, when I was young, I was bullied quite a lot. The idea of standing up to a bully would be terrifying. Now I understand that a bully is probably as terrified as I was, if not more. They just didn't show it. But back then I didn't know that. So this implies that there is some level of discomfort with it. And it is the discomfort that usually tells us we're going to move forward with something new, or we're going to stay where we are, or and the level of discomfort often indicates how you choose. So to change one's beliefs takes tremendous courage. For one, it requires one to be aware of their beliefs. And if we live semi-consciously or mostly unconsciously, we don't really think about those things. It is just simply not in our awareness. But as we become much more aware of the complexities of what makes us human, we then begin to expand our awareness in terms of our knowledge. Now, knowledge to me, as I said earlier, is something that I absolutely love. It's my drug of choice. I seek knowledge, not all knowledge, but obviously in this context, I can't get enough. Therefore, the more knowledge we have, to which we have to be open to, the more we come to understand more fully who we really are. And always remember, knowledge does not confine you. Knowledge frees you. So if you are subscribed to some sort of knowledge that creates an oppressive or suppressive condition within you, then you have not sought the highest level of knowledge. For knowledge is freeing and knowledge is transforming. Think about it. Knowledge in of itself is vibration. It's energy, it's frequency. In order for us to feel suppressed or be suppressed without even knowing that we are being suppressed, it requires a certain level of frequency, right? The more knowledge we have that unlimits us, potentially, the higher we begin to vibrate. And eventually what happens is the higher and higher we go, the less and less we are the old person. And then eventually time comes when we have to let go of the old person, the one that has been more confined. And it is that process of letting go that we are being asked to be brave for. So I've highlighted this in various different ways, so there is not one of you that says, oh my God, is there something bad going to happen? No. Now, does that mean we're not going to have uncomfortable moments? Not at all. We are here, as far as I'm concerned, to be uncomfortable a whole lot of time. But no, it's on the contrary. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. My apologies. Yes, it can be uncomfortable, but no, it does not mean there's anything bad. And May seems to be a month of tremendous change and broken old records. And that's because there's, so that brings me to the astrological component that I received in my meditation. That leads me to the idea of May 11th. So May 11th seems to be some sort of a crossroads in terms of conjunctions. And I went on and looked, what does that mean? And I realized that May 11th is when Saturn is in Aquarius. So I researched it further. Now, Saturn, I know, is because I researched. Saturn is about restriction, yeah. Saturn is, restriction, pessimism, structure. And Aquarius is about beliefs. And those of you who are astrologers, you know way more than I do. And Aquarius is also the sign of air, so it's the mind. And I went, isn't that interesting? Because this is all about us moving past our restrictions. And I feel like May in particular, and going a little bit into June, these breakings of these restrictions become worldwide. Now, why May? I want to say North America. Why May? Because it seems that majority of world is going back to what once was. However, many people have the opportunity to go back to once what was, but make it different. It's like many of us are facing opportunities to start with a reset. And if you are faced with going back to work, for example, because this has affected you in this particular way, or anything else for that matter, if you, gym, shopping, whatever was restricted for you over the last several months and still is, and you now have the ability to go back and no longer be restricted. Perhaps look at the restrictions and ask yourself, is there anything that I could do different when I go back to maximize on my time, maximize on my mind, maximize on my happiness? How can I make this work for me better? And for some of you, come up to these junctions that say, in order for me to make this better, I need to let go of this. Whether it's gym membership, not working out or not working out, not looking after yourself, going to a stagnating job, being in a relationship that doesn't work. In other words, it's like a global shift is happening all at once. And it seems to be amplified in the month of May. So for those of you who are astrologers or know more about this than I do, let me know what that is, May 11th, Saturn in Aquarius, because literally what I'm being shown is that however long it lasts, and I think it's quite a while, it's like we are looking at our structures and our boxes, and we are figuring out what do we put in what box. Do we eliminate some boxes altogether? How do we streamline and become much more effective at this thing called life? Now, if you asked me, I would say that sounds like a major change, because in fact it is. And we are becoming the new human beings. But it's not because we're new. There's nothing new about us. We have been forever, and forever will be after. It's who we are consciously choosing to express in this lifetime. So let's all be brave in terms of standing up to our own conditionings, our old conditionings. And not all conditioning is bad. All of us have amazing types of conditioning. Some of us have quite a bit of the negative conditionings, way more than others. Everybody's got something. But we do have solid conditionings. We keep those. And we look at how can we amplify those, or how can we, there's a word I'm searching for, how can we extract more from what is beautiful already? How can we make it better? So, for example, if you are modifying your choices in terms of food, and you kind of sort of got okay and removed sugars, now let's say to yourself, how can I make this better? What about if from now on I limit sugars, but I also eliminate white flour, as an example? Now, if you're someone used to eating a lot of flour foods or flour stuffs, that's going to be an uncomfortable change. So be prepared that with this change comes discomfort. Anytime there's discomfort, some level of fear or annoyance comes up. Why are you doing this? What's happening? Blah, 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 blah. That's normal, so expect it. Expect it. When you get hit with a wave of, what are you doing? You're crazy. Have you lost your mind? Oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, they're going to go, oh, wait, okay, wait a minute. That's the old conflicted, fearful me coming in and protesting because it's being triggered. That will happen. And those moments are phenomenal for looking at your shadow self. So over the next couple of months, especially May, if you are hit with a certain feeling, and I almost want to say it's not if, it's when, and you have the ability to catch yourself and stop and ask yourself, okay, what's happening here? What part of me is reacting? Which part of me is scared or angry or afraid or whatever? And identify it as a real living, breathing, separate, but a part of you. And then treat it like someone you're trying to get to know. In other words, you're giving it attention, but you're not giving it attention to fall more into it. You're giving it attention in terms of observing it for what it is. And this is actually a very effective way to do therapy. I'm not going to go more into that, but these are all various techniques that are often used in therapies, in psychotherapies. So the point I'm trying to make is, when you do get a trigger over the next little while, and I feel anger is going to come up a lot, Don't beat yourself up for getting angry. Just say to yourself, okay, here's anger coming back. What is this about? What is this about? Because obviously there's something being triggered. Use it as an opportunity to learn more about you. And remember, the key word is knowledge. I also saw some of us taking the lid off. And what happens when you take the lid off? Things come up. And I saw others, solidifying the lid, making sure it doesn't come off, making it really, really tight. And this metaphor told me that some of us are potentially moving away and out of our restrictions in our mind. And some are becoming even more restricted or feeding themselves information that makes them be in that restricted space. And the difference between those two types of people is a choice. So some of these changes are about how we think, how we critically think. And how we think is who we are. So our changing in our thinking ultimately shifts who we are. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. Let's go through some cards, even though I don't feel I have to. Few cards came up. So the deck that I'm using, again, some of you have asked, is the Soul Cards 1. I think it's called, yeah, Soul Cards 1. There's also deck 2. I only have this deck. And there's 4 of those, and I'm going to go through and tell you what I get. This card came up, if not last week, then 2 weeks ago. And again, what I get with this card is being in the process of being birthed. My attention is drawn right out of the way to the back of the person's head, okay? What I feel this message is that during this process, as we are going through this corridor, so to speak, we are, can I say the word loaded or downloaded? With a lot of information that will ultimately make us feel more empowered and not as scared or less afraid. There is a lot of energy coming through in terms of solar plexus, and again, I hear digestive issues, and I think I said that last week, so it's coming up again. So again, if you are experiencing some tummy issues, know that this is probably what it is. But of course, if you're having difficulties, you have to go and take care of it and see a doctor. So that's what I get. What I also get from this card is practice silence. Practice silence. Now, I'm going to show you the card that I know came out last week, if not 2 weeks ago. Same thing. This card. Okay. So you see all these voices here. That's not silence. Yet this person seems to be silent, seems to be managing. Okay. But it came out this way. And even though there is no reverse or non-reverse or upright, intuitively, I know how to connect to the message. And I feel that we will have a lot of interference over the next couple of weeks to 2 months. And when I say interference, I don't mean bad. Somebody bad is interfering with your life, or, your phone is being hacked. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is old story and old voices. And that's why you need quiet time. This is us working on our fundamentals. I mean, I don't know about you, but this is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. This whole ascension process is a lot of work. It'll be worth it at the end. But it is a lot of work. So expect there to be, don't expect too hard, but expect there to be some noises in your head that are perhaps a little bit louder than they have been in a while. It's like your ego's last attempt to try to get your attention, because you know what's happening. You're moving into this higher vibration where your ego with your limitations stands no chance. And when that happens, your ego puts up a break, or several hundred of them. And that can be experienced in various ways. I literally feel it like a push on my chest. It's like either something is pushing me back or I'm moving forward, but I can't. Something is blocking me. And it's like this ego self says, no, you can't go there. No, it's not safe. You don't know. You just don't know. It's better. So if this is what you're hearing over the next little while, take a break and ask yourself, what part of me is being activated? What part of me is getting my attention? And if it's getting your attention, and that's the inner child, remember, generally it's because it's scared, or it wants something, or it needs something. It's important. So give it some consideration, but don't give in. Interesting. Give it some consideration, but don't give in. So if you experience those voices from the past, go, okay, so this is what's happening, and you're freaking out because you don't know where you're going, and you're afraid you're going to get rejected. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. And then say, there's always another way. So you're not ignoring your fear, but you're not also saying, okay, you have the only answer. You're saying, well, maybe there's another answer that we just don't know about yet. You're leaving the doors open. If you think of your fears as people or entities, and if you see those entities and you in some sort of a form of a relationship, learning to relate with your fears is actually a very profoundly therapeutic process. Because number one, it fosters inclusivity. Inclusivity is when we are feeling included, part of. When we push things away, that's exclusivity. Generally, we push our fears away. We try to exclude them from our lives. So we are rejecting an aspect of who we are. That's not unity. So apparently they're saying it's a very, very highly effective therapeutic process. I actually do it with my clients majority of the time. Okay. Now, the next card is interesting because it's the same colors. Notice. So that's important. It's a lot of blue expression. I just feel holding back. So in this vision, what I see is some of you, some of us, how do I say it? It's like we're being, the best way I can say it's like we're being sliced in two. There's a part of us that knows where we're going, but there's another part of us that's kind of not sure. And I want to say that's the ego games. That makes perfect sense. So we may feel temporarily like we are sure, but we're not sure. For some of you, it's holding back information that you can perceive, but don't necessarily have the confidence to talk about it. So for those of you who are connected with other forms of beings, other forms of life in other dimensions, this is an ability that you may have been hiding from others or from yourself. And for others of you, this is something that, although is natural part of you, has been blocked. And right now, as you're starting to receive it, you're not quite sure what to do with it. You appear to be shy with this information. So this could be for anybody, no longer just channelers. It could be anybody, because we all have the ability to connect. Every single person. Okay. So this is an interesting card. This card, I believe, came up again within the last couple of weeks. To me, it denotes, when I see it this way, I feel comfortable, even though I'm encircled and I may feel confined a little bit. There is permeability to it. I don't feel like I'm stuck. There's a level of comfort here with this for me. Okay, but because it came out this way, it told me, okay, for the next, for the next little while, you may have moments where you feel slightly off, like you don't know where you fit. You don't know where you belong. You don't know where your home is, physically or otherwise. You don't know who your friends are, or you don't know who you are, for that matter. You may be questioning, who am I? And I think that message came up before. And I just hear standard protocol of Ascension. Okay, very funny. So there might be moments of discomfort in terms of not knowing where you fit. Not that you're trying to fit yourself into anything, but you understand where your space is, where your place is. Okay. However, look at the next card. This is almost directly opposite to this card, because this to me symbolizes coming out. Now, I just noticed something very interesting. I've seen these cards before, but this card, for some reason, over the last, I don't know, 7 or 10 years that I've had these cards, I don't remember seeing this card, which is interesting, which just shows you that when you look at things in time, they change. As your perception changes, what you look at changes as well. That's one of Dyer's sayings. So this could absolutely be childbirth, a person coming out of a womb, physically. So some of you may be giving birth, physical birth to a human being, but this is metaphorical for every single one of us. And this is us being birthed. But notice what's happening. When I see it as a birth canal, the person is still in the womb, but only up at its head, right there. You see it? So the person's head is out. And what I see here is, for example, if you were born into an environment that was very fearful, that is what would have affected you permanently in your mind. And that would cause you to be hiding, for example, most of your life. And that's an exaggerated vision. So this speaks to particularly those of you who come from chaotic backgrounds, even if it was just for a short while, but may have permanently affected you in terms of an anxiety and fear. I feel like, again, the lid coming off, I feel like those of you will feel the impact of this change the most. And I'm going, you're saying that their anxieties are going to plummet. And what I get is not necessarily, but the level of fear they feel will be much less. So this is what we have to look forward to. But again, my logic now says that makes sense. We are not to move out of fear completely. Fear is very important. Fear channeled properly or in a certain way can bring about incredible abundance. It is how it's channeled over time. And that could be a whole different video. So we're not trying to get rid of fear. Fear saves lives. But we are definitely trying to reduce the level to which fear has power over us. Because we give fear our power. We just do. Okay? However, this is about moving more into a space of curiosity rather than fear. So the otter is an interesting animal because the otter energy is about curiosity. But also when you've seen an otter, like they're very curious, they're very observable, but they live in an environment where they're hunted for all the time. So the message here is, emotionally speaking, we are moving past being dictated more by the fear to having fear, but being what's the word, dictated? No, it's not dictated. Being driven, let's say, driven by curiosity. The curiosity seems to be more than the fear. And that's a good place to be. And even when we don't have a whole bunch of fears, when we take big risks, there's always some kind of fear. Fear is just part of life. However, if fear owns you instead of you owning fear, then you're a slave to your fear. But the otter doesn't do that. Otherwise, it would spend all of its life preparing to die. But it's not what it's doing. It has fun. This is not about suppressing your fear or pretending it's not there. This is about acknowledging it, but also focusing on the other thing, the curiosity, the desire to learn more, the desire to be more, the desire to express yourself more. And that takes imaginative thinking. And I just heard, clear mind imagines well. Sure does. Sure does. And I think that's all I have. I just realized we're at 41 minutes. I actually love how this flowed. If this makes no sense to you, which I would highly doubt for majority of you, I feel it will. It will make sense later. I would also invite you to look at the other weekly pulses, because just because they're within a date or a week, it doesn't mean that they just stopped. It's just if you're drawn to a certain video, there might be something there for you. And with that said, I wish you a wonderful week. Please comment. I love reading your comments. And I wish every single one of you best of luck. And do know that we are supported, whether we know it or not, whether we believe it or not, we are supported. Sometimes it may not feel like it. It may feel like our pleas go to deaf ears, but I know we're not. It's just, sometimes it's just the way it is. Okay. Also, your actions are very impactful, more than you will ever know. And I'm asked not to interpret that, but it's important. If you hear it and it brings something in you, then it's a message for you. And I'm trying to remember what it was, and it's gone. It's gone. Something about you being impactful. Yeah, your actions are impactful, more than you'll know. Okay, guys. Have a wonderful week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.